Push a P. Yeah, push a P. Turn me up. Turn me up, P. Pointers in the paddock, get my piece. I'm push a P.
Cop new hammers for my P. We don't want no peace.
Got a spot across the spot. Just for peace.
Drop the data, now we planting exotic peas. She not a lesbian for peace. She turned lesbian. Push a P.
All right. What's up, everyone? My name is Eric Perry,
I'm Sierra Perry.
and welcome to the Uncensored Entrepreneur for Couples with Eric and Sierra. And what we're about, our mission, what the show's about, really is we focus on helping other entrepreneurs who are in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship. There's various degrees of people that we help, but our main focus is we really just help other people, whether they're in business together, whether individually, one of them, both of them, doesn't matter, but they're in a relationship, and how to navigate through their life. We use our shit show and the things that we've gone through in our shit show to try to lessen the negative impacts in your shit show. So that is who we are. That's what we do. Yeah, so there's various different topics involved in that that you go on as you navigate through your life and try to figure all that stuff out. So we do our best, really just talking about some of the issues that we've gone through. A lot of the problems, how what we've done to get past them, to overcome them, and to continue to make sure that we're not basically sacrificing our marriage as a result of owning a business.
And the struggles we still deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely, struggles we still deal with. We're not perfect. We just basically talk about the things that we have figured out, and sometimes we haven't figured it out because we go back to it. But just things that we've done, we just kind of talk about our lives and what works for us, in hopes that if you find something that you can relate to, that might improve your life and improve your relationship as an entrepreneur, then fantastic. We don't plug the show or anything like that. And so if you find something that you relate to, or if you know a friend or family or anything like that you feel might relate to some of the topics that we talk about and could benefit from hearing us, let them know where to find us. Obviously, all of our full-length episodes via video are on our YouTube channel, The Uncensored Entrepreneur, and you can also find our podcasts on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts rather, and Spotify. So, that being said, here we are. Lots of things to talk about, and that's probably our biggest struggle, is trying to find one particular topic to talk about, because obviously the smaller bites, the better, in terms of helping. But it's one of those things that, you get so fired up, you get so passionate about, because you realize, relationships are already hard. And then you throw in all of the stress involved in being an entrepreneur and all of the problems that come with that, or that potentially come with that. And it just makes it a million times harder. And so, it makes you want to kind of go over everything all at once to try to help other people.
Share.
So there's a few different things that we can talk about, and we love hearing your questions too. One of these days when we get fancy enough to where we grow an audience and we can get people to call in with some questions, that'll come a time. But for now, if you have any questions or topics or something that you are dealing with in your own personal life that you want to hear our story about, and for us to talk about, you can always email your questions over to questions@uncensored.com.
Or if you just have any random questions for us, things you're curious about us that you've never heard us talk about. If you just have a question, we're open books.
Yeah, so you can always just shoot your questions over. Again, that was questions@uncensored.com. So, that being said, a couple of things I want to talk about. I think first and foremost, I think it's important to talk about us, our history, who we are, kind of where our background as far as relationship and as far as our professional background and things like that. So, kind of the story of how we met, where we are, how we got to where we are today, and that quick thing here. So, Sierra, do you want to talk about where we met?
Yeah, we met in high school. I was new to Arizona from California, and
were we like your typical fairy tale cliche?
No.
Met in high school, got married, and fell in love?
No, far from it. We actually didn't date in high school. We met in high school. We had both been in other relationships, so we never explored that side of our friendship.
I wanted to, though. Yeah. She was cute.
Well, that's what I was about to say. We liked each other. We both knew that we liked each other. The timing wasn't right, though. And I think about that sometimes, that what if we had tried to date in high school? I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think it would have worked out.
I was largely a dumbass in high school, so I definitely would have fucked that up.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of glad that it worked out.
Much more than I have already. Yeah.
No. So yeah, we were friends in high school, and then I had ended up leaving that school, going to a different school a couple years later. So we lost touch for a few years. He got married. He had his oldest daughter. Yeah. Or 2 kids, yeah. And then we just reconnected on Facebook one day because I needed a cell phone. My cell phone broke. I posted, "Does anyone have a cell phone I can use?" And he had the phone.
I'm one of those weird guys where all of my old cell phones, doesn't matter, not anymore, I don't think. My kids kind of play with some of them, but it doesn't matter if it's broken or not. All of my old cell phones, I was weird, and I'd put them in a drawer, and I'd keep them thinking like they had some kind of value, whether sentimental or whatever.
Worked out for me.
Yeah, so I saw this post, and I was in the middle of separating with my wife, and I just remember thinking, like, man, I remember she was cute, and so I was like, hey, I got a cell phone, and I showed up and saved the day, and then
the rest is history.
Pretty much, yeah, it was pretty much all over from there. We started talking every day, then we started hanging out, and we obviously, when the divorce was finalized, that's, we started, dating and started living together, and
yeah, 3
kids with her later, and we have full custody of my other 2 kids, and so family of 7, so 5 kids. So talk about stress. So if you have, you own a business, you're in a relationship, all those things are independently hard. You have a bunch of kids, you're young, and if you're watching the video, I know I don't look a day younger than 68 years old because of my gray. These are the kids, by the way. You'd think it's the business, maybe a little of both, but mainly the kids. We're relatively young, parents for 5 kids. So
yeah, I was 21 when we started. Well, I had just turned 21 when we started dating. So I took on the role of stepmom at 21, which was obviously something that I never planned on doing, but I never questioned it. I never doubted my choice. I just jumped right in and started playing the role of stepmom. And
see, gentlemen, when you're so hugely attractive, it doesn't matter what kind of baggage you come with. She's just going to deal with it no matter what, because she wants you. So,
definitely
absolutely, definitely. I have the personality that kills. But at the time, I mean, it's kind of funny because at the time, I must have looked okay because, at the time I was dead broke. Definitely not a scholar in school. And now the looks are out the window. So to be honest, I don't know. Maybe she's half blind and I just don't realize it. She is blind though. I've tried on her glasses. She's very blind. But so maybe that's what I got going for me. So you just got to find, if you're having trouble, just go to VisionWorks and post up, and the ladies that are coming through, once you see them leaving, if they got those Coke
glasses.
bottles, that's when you're like, yo, what's up, girl?
Or after they've had their eyes
Yeah.
dilated.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You'll win them for sure. They'll look at you like you're Prince Charming, and you can be Shrek like me. But anyway, so that's how we met. As far as a professional relationship, I didn't own a business, and I met her. I mean, like I said, it was in high school, so she kind of followed my delinquency all the way up and through. Whenever we started dating, however I conned her into doing that, and then had some kids, got married, that sort of thing, and
The marriage took quite a while to happen.
yeah, it did.
We'll throw that in there for the people that don't know.
For sure, yeah. My last engagement was a very long time, and the marriage was very short. So, needless to say, I wasn't extraordinarily eager to do the whole thing again. But
What was it? We were together for
I don't know, 6-8 years,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, around 7 years, I think,
Yeah.
before the proposal happened.
So it's better.
But
My
it was
ex-wife,
epic. It was an epic
we were
proposal.
together for 10 years. Me and my ex-wife, before I proposed. So, or rather, including the engagement, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were engaged for like a million years, but anyway. So
Well, I was just gonna say, sorry for interrupting you again, but I don't think we've talked about like how long we've been married and stuff. How long we've been together. So we've been together for 12 years, married for 5 of it.
yeah, there you go.
That's the experience
So-
we've got.
I'm gonna get a pen and write that down. Yeah. So. Yeah, 5 years. I mean, we haven't been married 25 years, but 5 years. I think in this day and age, I mean, that's a pretty good feat. And especially dealing with all the stuff that the world today kind of throws at you.
Yeah, and we've been through a lot.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Absolutely. So, which leads to our professional career. So, I've been a roofer my whole life. I started at the bottom swinging a hammer as a laborer, all the way up to where I am now. And in my professional career, I think when we started dating, I was still an installer.
Yep.
And gosh, so
Funny story.
started from the bottom. Yeah, so I was still an installer, and I came out of an accident where I broke my leg, so I was a little bit slower. I was doing some side jobs. I remember having her, I was broke. I couldn't afford water. I'm a roofer in Arizona, doing a side job on a roof, a whole roof, and I'm like texting her, calling her, like, hey, can you and your mom, we're young, can you swing by and bring me some water? And they brought me a gallon of water. I thought I was going to die. I'll never forget that house. But anyway, so I was an installer. Partially, actually, why I got fired from the job that I installed at is because I wouldn't get off the phone.
It's a funny story.
Yeah, I was constantly on the phone.
Texting also.
Yeah, and I had a Bluetooth and everything, but I was just always on the phone, and apparently it became noticeable. I mean, I still got my stuff done, but I don't know, maybe some people in there had it out for me or something like that. And so
I didn't know this until years later that I was the reason. That you
Yeah,
got fired.
so I got fired because I was on my phone so much. Really, the company I was with was slow. They bought into the feast or famine of the industry and that sort of thing, and so they were slow. It was a slow time, and it was just an excuse to lay off a kid. So so that happened. Best thing ever, really. Put me at home. Kind of realized there wasn't really much else I knew how to do or wanted to do other than be a roofer for some dumb reason. And so I just kept looking around, and then I started. I was a salesman, and I had never sold before, but I knew a lot about roofing, and so I did that. Went from there to working, running a division for somebody, and kind of. The point is that she met me at a time where I was, at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. I suppose at that time I was, like a journeyman or something. I'd worked my way up the ladder as far as an install, but I was still an installer. And then going on to, owning my own business. So, there's something to say about, entrepreneurs. Like, for example, if you're in the audience and you're not an entrepreneur, but you want to be, there's first of all, like, if there's something you're good at and you have the drive and the passion and you want to fire it up and go do it, go do it. Don't be afraid of taking that step and trying, because instead, you'll regret. You'll always question, like, man, like, what if I would have made it? Like, what would life have been like had it worked? So you have to try it. But that being said, I never would have guessed being an entrepreneur had so many levels of stress. Before this business, I owned another roofing company and I had a partner. And even then, like, I ran the whole thing. Like, I did everything. But even then, just having a couple of people handle a few aspects of it really showed me that being a solopreneur, man, that's a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And so anyway, we started it together in the middle of a freaking pandemic. Yeah. I had this great idea, like, hey, this job where I have, like, security, mm-hmm. I'm going to quit and I'm going to start my own thing. And fortunately I've been, doing it in the industry as long as I have, but that being said, that brings on a lot of stress and whereas Sierra's professional career is a lot different than mine.
I've got a whole 12 years of being a stay-at-home mom under my belt.
Yeah. I mean, she's had some jobs, but
and stuff like that.
Yeah, but things. I had it in my head because of how I was raised, the cliche, I'm the man, I'm going to go work. And she was cool with that. She wanted to, raise the babies. Yeah. So that being said, that's the story of kind of how we met in our professional career and, how we got to where we are today. So with that comes a lot of stress. And one of the biggest things I think that we've probably, I don't know about argued about, but I'm sure, argued about, talked about, one of the biggest stressors from my perspective is owning the business. Because, if you don't know, if you didn't catch the last episode, Sierra's involvement in the company is really what she wants it to be, which is minimal. And I had this expectation that she was going to be like 50-50 and she was going to, go in balls deep and manhandle this thing into success with me. And she tried, but you're not happy when you're being forced to do something that you don't entirely love and doesn't make you happy. I mean, she had a lot of regret not being there to, take care of the kids, and be with them and spend time with them and all the time and whatnot that she had put into the company. And so it, for a while that happened. And so her involvement now is minimal, which is how she likes it. And if that's how she likes it, then that's how I like it. But one of the biggest things, one of the biggest stressors that we've had, I'd say that probably any entrepreneur has, especially starting out, is money. Money, bills, the misconception of, what you have isn't actually what you have, and that's something I heard a long time ago and I tried to let it stick and, just navigating. I mean, it depends on, I suppose, really it doesn't matter the size of your business, what you're doing for revenue, but, you have bills, right? And when those bills are due, they're due and they're unforgiving. And I think a lot of times some of the things that we've done in our life that are bad, that I've done are question every single transaction that she would do that's personal. If she went to the grocery store and spent $211 and then I'd come home and see like a toy or something for the kids, I'd be like, what was this? Why are we spending this every time we go out? you know, and if we're like managing to try to pay bills and stuff like that, like, you know, that's one thing, but, you know, I'd see something I wanted, you know, that wasn't business related, pair of shoes or something like that, and I'd get them, and they cost more than whatever that toy cost. But whenever I'm going over the transactions, I'm like trying to come up with these bills, because all of a sudden I get a bill for much more than what I have in the account. and I'm just looking for justification as to why we don't have it in the account. And I'm looking at my one transaction, but I'm questioning her for, you know, and it took a while for me to realize, you know, obviously communication, budgets, you know, all that crap's important. I hate budgets, by the way. My God, I hate them. I don't like doing them. I don't do them. I'm cautious, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It took a while, but, you know, and she would tell me all the time, like, well, you know, it's not like I went out and got a pair of shoes or 4, you know. And I'm like, all right. But it took a while for me to, I think, realize that she, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to, you know, come bill time, start arguing about money. You know, I want her to, as stupid as it is, I think, to get a child a toy every time you leave the house. Like I want her to be able to do that. I want my kids to be able to have that. I mean, obviously, you know, that's a whole nother parenting lesson or whatever. But so instead, you know, now I'm just like, well, what sacrifices do I have to make sure that, you know, she's able to do that? And we still, you know, sometimes I'll ask questions. You know, $67 at CVS. Like, how in the fuck do you spend $67 at CVS? Right? There's no like medication. Or like, how does that happen? And so I'll just like ask her, like, what the fuck was this? You know, and a lot of times it's like candy or a bunch of junk or some shit for her and the kids.
It's because I like go in for, I intend to get one thing, and then I look around and I see like all the fun little things they have, and
Yeah.
it just adds up really quick.
All the fun little
Fun
things.
I mean, makeup sometimes, you know, makeup.
Yeah.
Stuff for the kids to play with outside. It's not always a toy. I like getting cleaning stuff. That's a really big thing I like shopping for, which sounds really weird. But I like shopping for cleaning supplies,
Yeah.
household cleaning supplies, cleaning spray, stuff like that. Come home with a new vac mop every time.
Oh my God.
I come
We
home
have
from the
7
store.
vacuums.
So, but it's not always things that are for me. So I think that's another reason that it caused an argument was because it wasn't like I was going out and buying stuff for myself and like spoiling myself. I was like, it's for the house. Like, how can you get upset when it's stuff for the house? I'm trying to make our house better and stuff like that, even though it wasn't really things that we needed all the time.
Right.
In my head, it was stuff we needed, but
And here's the thing. You might not be this person. You know, you might be much, much smarter than I am, which I would hope to God that there's a lot of people out there that is smarter than I am when it comes to finances. But you might have already had some failures that you're learning from. You might just naturally be, you know, good with the finances. But I'm not. You know, so for me, I know what it takes to run a business. But my point is, you might not have these conversations, but when we're the point of doing business, the point of being an entrepreneur, right, is to, hopefully, this should be your point, is to, aside from like changing lives and impacting others, and you know, there's tons and tons of like other like big reasons why for me. My why has nothing to do with roofing, has nothing to do with my family, but you know, the point of being an entrepreneur is to generate a level of success that is otherwise unattainable. No limits, right? To be able to create generational wealth for your family. You know, not just a crap load of money, but just to create generational wealth, which is an unfathomable amount of money, in my opinion.
yeah.
You know, and to do that, you know, it takes a lot of discipline and stuff like that. I get it, but here's the thing: when you start seeing wins and you start seeing success and you start making money, for lack of a better term, your standard of living is going to raise, especially whenever you see that it's not one-off, that it's sustainable, additional revenue being generated. Your standards of living are going to change. Obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a startup entrepreneur or something like that, like I don't recommend, like on your first year, you make a bunch of money, you go out and buy Lambos and stuff like that's. I don't recommend that at all. For me, my expenses are really anything that's going to continue to generate revenue. Advertising. I brand the crap out of everything. Literally, the colors of the podcast and my attire that I wear are intentionally my brand. So, it's my brand is what provides a life for myself and all of our employees. And so the point is, you might be super phenomenal with money, whereas I'm not. So this conversation is more to the people, the idiots like me that are going to see a little bit of money and they're going to go out and buy, 10 pairs of shoes or some crap, and the thing is as long as you are smart and all that stuff, I'm not telling you what to do with your money and how to spend your money. That's not what this conversation is about. What I'm telling you is, if you are going out and you're buying something, I don't care if it's shoes, I don't care if it's hats, I don't care if it's cars, I don't care if it's whatever it is that you're spending money on, and then you're shitting on your spouse or the person you're in a relationship with for spending any money, much less money that's far less, don't do that. Instead, either sacrifice what you're spending money on and allow them to do that, because they're the ones sitting at home. Whatever the case is, in our case, right? Sierra's the one sitting at home. She wants to get the season passes for every fucking attraction on the planet to take the kids to. And I'm like, man, and like, do we really need all that? Well, the kids, you get sick of doing the same thing, right? And
you get driven crazy when you're in the house all day, every day with all the kids.
So as part of being an entrepreneur, I mean, my mindset, what I changed in my mindset is okay, well, I just need to figure out how to generate more revenue to account for what she wants, and that sort of thing. But it's very real to have like the money, the bills, the stress, all that other stuff. All right. Had a little interruption there. Had a
That's
little one
real
run
life
from
right
the camera.
there for you.
Yeah, real life. One of the kids are homesick, so they decided to kind of roll up and see what we're doing.
He was bringing me a flower, so
right.
You can't get mad at that.
Yeah. So I had to pause it for a second, but I mean, so the point is, having the stress of money, having the stress of bills, that's astronomically real, and whether, especially when you're growing, right? So like we're in the scaling phase, so we're continuing to grow, so our bills are growing more and more and more. So just because we see these revenue in the account, we're like super stoked, but we know that it's pretty much gone. So we got to use it for the growth. Yeah. But that's a big thing. That's a big thing, arguing about money. And gosh, I can't imagine how many. I mean, I don't know the stats, but I know that it's pretty significant about the amount of marriages that fail as a result of arguing because of money problems.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think communication is key, and being forgiving. It really just depends on like in our situation. I know that she's a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't have the ability to go out and generate her own revenue, but she takes care of the kids in the house to allow me to go out and generate as much revenue as possible. So who am I to stop her or limit her, at least yell at her or argue with her about decisions she's making whenever I make my own decisions all day. And that's another huge topic too, as far as decisions. Like, I don't, money and bills are scary. Your investments grow as you grow. I remember calling her one day from a parking lot of an event that I went at, and they were talking about a particular training program, and how I was super excited. I think the most, I was still to the penny doing addition and subtraction on exactly what our monthly expenses were in the business.
Yeah.
And then I call her and I said, hey, I want to do this training. Some friends of mine have done it, and they're like showing massive success. So I want to attribute it to that, and I want to do this training, and it's $40,000, and like by a long shot, the most that we've ever invested into any kind of training or anything like that for the company. And I'm sure it's foggy thinking back that far, but I'm sure that she had some questions. I'm sure that I don't know how she initially felt. But what did you initially think? What do you remember?
I remember being like, obviously nervous because I didn't get to see what you saw that convinced you that this training program would be something good for us. So I remember being nervous, but I also remember thinking, if you truly believe that this is something that's going to help our company, then I trust you. And I didn't even think twice about it, really. I figured he knows what's best for this company. Hopefully he wouldn't ever do anything to fully jeopardize
shows what she knows.
The livelihood of our family. No, but it was obviously nerve-wracking, but I knew that you're smart. I've always trusted your decisions. So.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing too, is just like Terrence and Tiffany talked about, trusting the decisions that the bread maker is making, basically, and not questioning every single thing, and just being supportive.
Yeah. Well, and I think it boils down to, like, in terms of the trust, like your history.
Yeah.
Right. Your track record, we'll say. Regardless of what phase I was at in my life, in my professional career, I always figured it out. It doesn't matter, what the circumstance was. I always figured it out, and that's part of being. That's a huge part of success, is just don't ever give up, right? As long as you never give up, you're bound to figure it out. So always just keep pushing forward for it, and since then, I mean, we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into training, and it's still scary each time, writing this check. It's still scary each time. But like she says, I just don't ever give up, and I've never given her a reason to think, that I'm going to jeopardize everything.
Yeah. And we've never gone without. We've never, we've never had to go without anything. He's always made sure we have food in the fridge and a roof over our head. So that's why I trust the decisions you make.
Yeah. But, and that might be, maybe you have given somebody a reason to question your decisions. And I think that's just like an internal thing that you need to work on. It's communication is very important. And from my side of it, I can easily say, well, just trust me. I've always figured it out before. Don't worry about it. At the same time, I want to say, like, I value her opinion. If she really thinks that something is stupid, or a bad decision, and I may have listened to her once or twice in that regard. There's tons of times where I didn't, or I'm just like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And more than likely, we probably had some pains, maybe a little bit of suffering because of it, but nothing was unsolvable.
Life-changing.
Yeah. So from my perspective, it's easy, but from her perspective, like, I guess, are you one that wants to be involved in knowing? Do you just want to know? Do you want to be part of the decision-making process? Do you not care? Do you,
just fully trust what they're doing. And,
Yeah, like no, I'm asking you.
Oh,
Like,
I thought
what-
you were saying like to
no, like
people
what
that
do
are
you
listening.
what do you
Um,
so that people can relate to you?
I like knowing, definitely. I don't, but not to the point where like you need to tell me before you do it, and I make sure it's okay, or you're making sure it's okay.
Yeah, like permission. So
Yeah,
pretty much
I
just
just like to
notifying.
be in the know. Yeah, like, hey, I'm gonna go buy a new truck. That's
Yeah.
why this money is going out of the account. Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. I like to know, but not because you need my permission.
Good. All right, I passed that test. Just the other day, I was like, hey, by the way, I bought another truck.
I was like, okay.
And it's really just let her know because it's going to sit in the driveway until it gets wrapped. And so,
I know if he's doing it, it's for
yeah,
a reason. So.
you know, and so and I guess I can have an opinion on that. So, and that's fine. That's what works for us, and that's what we've identified that we want to do, right? The thing is if you are somebody who you want to be a part of it, the decisions, and you want to hear about it before it happens, not so much for them to ask permission, but for them to like present it to the board of husband and wife, right? Or boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever you are, you know, and have that conversation and make the decisions together. I think that's fine too. But if you're both involved, I would think that you both have to be involved into the company.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. This is just my opinion. If you're a spouse and you're not involved in the company
by choice, like if you don't want anything to do with it, then you
like
shouldn't.
if you listened to episode 1, you had that upfront conversation with each other and you know, communicated clear expectations of the roles that you're each taking, and one person doesn't want to be involved,
hands off, yeah.
or like wants to be involved very, very little, like basically not an operator of the company. Like Sierra, Sierra, I would say is involved in the company, but she's not an operator. Meaning she likes to do all the fun shit. Second something gets hard, she's out. You know, but she likes to do all the fun shit. So, but you know, that being said, if you're one of those people that are not involved or don't want to be involved, or you want to play the mom role or the dad role, whatever the situation is, you want to be not plugged into the company. That's cool, but in my opinion, I don't really think that being in the know is cool. But like having, you know, maybe consultation, you know, which hopefully your spouse will do anyway. If it's like a major decision, like, hey, I'm going to drop 150 grand or 40 grand. I'm going to drop 40 grand on this training. Like I did. You know, I called her and talked to her about it because it was scary for me and I needed somebody to. But in terms of like buying a truck, like I'm not going to ask her when I got to buy a truck. Maybe. I guess it depends on the circumstance. But not like, hey, can I buy a truck? Or like, we really need a truck. We can benefit from this. Like she's like a superior. It's more or less like, hey, like given the circumstances, like I think we should hire somebody and we got to buy a new truck for this role. Like, you know, what do you think? Or I'll just do it because I got to do it anyway. So I think that's it. But if you're involved in the company, sure, you know, as long as communication, communication,
Biggest thing.
hugest thing. You have to communicate up front, you know, what your expectations are, what your roles are, you know, and how the decision-making process for those big things are gonna go down.
Yeah, because it could cause problems if you know, say, I don't want to be involved in the company. It's your thing. I'm going to raise the kids or whatever. I'm going to do my thing. You run the company. But then when a big decision is made and you get upset because you weren't involved in that, you know, you gave up that.
Right.
The role to have a say in it when you said that you didn't want to be involved in the company. So definitely just communication. Because obviously as a husband and wife, you still need to talk about things like that. But yeah, it's just about figuring out your roles and just talking about it is the biggest thing so that there's no confusion, no resentment, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so, definitely. I mean, just communication is the king of everything.
Yeah.
Everything just boils down. I mean, we can literally end up every episode on, improve your communication with one another.
Yeah, and it's
But-
something that we're still working on too. It's something
Yeah.
that we could probably talk about every episode that we're
Yeah.
going through right now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we could have done this way, or
Like now I got a friend who's like, you need to apply pressure into your life. And he's trying to tell everybody to buy a damn boat.
I'm gonna buy a boat.
And I'm like, man, I need a fucking boat. And so now I'm talking to her and
That's where
like
I'm
last night.
That's
Oh
where
yeah,
I
we're
draw
doing,
the
so we
line.
started 75 hard together. And again, and we're walking around last night. And pressure, when I say pressure, I mean pressure and consistency are two things that are hugely important, I think, for any entrepreneur, period. Pressure is, you don't want complacency. You don't want, say you're making money, your bills are chilling, you're paying your bills, whatever. You don't want to, you want to apply pressure to where you always have a sense of urgency and pressure to do better and grow, next time. And consistency, obviously, you have to be consistent in everything that you do. So they're just saying, hey, you're making some money, cool. Buy a boat, get a boat payment. Add some pressure to your life to where you got to make even more money. And it's funny. So we're walking around last night on our night walk and doing 75 hard. And I was talking to her and I was telling her that story, how funny it is. Yeah, like Terrence trying to get everybody to buy a boat, blah blah blah. And then I was like, so, and I was even talking about like we used to want a pontoon boat, and I was like, but then like, what's fun about sitting on a couch out in the water? Like, I can do that, like jumping off, swimming, whatever. I can do that with like a wave runner. But I can do more fun stuff with a wave runner. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, so I'm buying a wave runner. So,
Saw
TBD.
that coming.
Yeah, but I think just communication, and that's kind of what we do is we joke around out of it. Part of it is I in no way, shape, or form had that conversation and said that to gauge her reaction. It was just something funny that happened, and me just being a dumbass. Well, I'm buying a wave runner, but the funny part is down the
Are you
road.
about to tell me that you bought a wave
No.
runner?
Down the road, if I do buy a wave runner, I will think back at when I told her. And even though it wasn't intentional to find out her reaction, I will think back to that time and go, well, she didn't like freak out about it. So because I try to justify it in my own head, but
remember I told you I was going to buy one
I just
3
gotta
years ago
find
when
a-
we were walking through the parking lot.
yeah,
I
just got to find a way to explain to her, articulate that it will generate revenue and then go for it. But no, I think, to wrap it up, the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that we've had conversations about is money. Her not being involved in the business she doesn't see the expenses of the business. She doesn't see all that stuff. Kind of like shared accounts, like if you don't have a shared account or whatever. I know all of the money that's going to come in and out of the business, and she doesn't. So since I know that, I know what I can spend. And if I spend something, it's not fair to her if whenever she goes to spend something, and I don't mean buying a boat, I mean $67 at fucking CVS on some candy and junk. You know what I mean? That I should not be bitching at her about that after I just spent, $500 on shoes or whatever. It's just not, it's not fair. And it's not right. And it took a while for that concept to happen. And I think that it's something that we still work on, but, it's just shifting your mindset. Like for me, what it was shifting my mindset of like, well, I just got to, generate enough revenue to where it doesn't fucking matter, where I don't pay attention to it. I don't see it. It's not on my radar. But of course, when the time comes towards the end of the month and you get your bills for your business, you're going to look at that. You're going to look at what's in your account, and you're going to go, oh. So I think just making sure that you have that communication, making sure that you're on the same page, and just identify like who's the decision maker, who's, how do you want it to happen? Do you want to be notified every time? Over a certain threshold of, money, whatever that looks like. And just staying tight with the communication. So, that being said, we can certainly wrap this up. One thing I wanted to give you a little sneak peek about is, another big topic, and we're going to talk about this next episode, so make sure that you tune in, is doing things together. Finding time to do things together, the importance of it, date nights, we're religious by them. Again, we have 5 kids at home. You might have no kids. This might be super easy for you, aside from the time of the business. But making sure that you're setting aside time to do things, 1, with your family, with your kids, and then 2, with your wife on a regular basis, a consistent regular basis. You have to keep your family life normalized. You can't, and important. You can't sacrifice the business, but you certainly can't sacrifice your family. Yeah. And there is no such thing of a balance. That's one thing we're going to talk about next episode. There is no balance. It's just time management. So
just figuring it out. FitFo.
Figuring it out. Yep, FitFo, core value. Look at that. See her involvement? She catches on.
Yep.
So, so make sure you tune in next time. And until then, like I said, if you have any questions or topics you want to hear us talk about, you can email them over to questions@uncensored.com. But other than that, have a phenomenal rest of your day.
Push a P. Yeah, push a P. Turn me up. Turn me up, P. Pointers in the paddock, get my piece. I'm push a P.
Cop new hammers for my P. We don't want no peace.
Got a spot across the spot, just for peace.
Drop the data, now we plotting. Exotic P.